Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Straight Cut, a brand new YouTube channel here to celebrate sports car racing and the World Endurance Championship. I'm Rob Hansford, and as you can see, is Toby Trice next to me. Hi, Toby. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. It's so great to start this channel with you, buddy.
Yeah, it's a lot of exciting content up and coming, isn't there? Really?
Yeah, loads to talk about. We're both massive fans of sports cars, and yeah, some really exciting events coming up throughout the year ahead. Both with my racing and all of the exciting WEC and sports car worldwide that's going around, and yeah, it should be really interesting to talk about it.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, I'm sort of heavily involved in sort of like the journalism industry with sort of my own print publication, The Pit Stop, and Toby, you race yourself, don't you?
Yeah, so I'm a Porsche racing driver in the UK, in the Porsche Sprint Challenge GB for the third season. I've been racing now for 5 years. This is my fifth season in motorsport. I've got a huge dream to get to Le Mans someday. So I think this channel is really cool to actually talk about that future goal and kind of where we might end up together on this incredible journey. One day, hopefully, I'll be on that top step of Le Mans someday.
Yeah, and that's what this episode is all about, isn't it? It's talking about the Le Mans 24 hours. This episode and a following two, we're going to be breaking down sort of a preview of this year's 24-hour event, looking at each individual class. This one being the hypercar class, which is it's been a great season so far, hasn't it?
Oh mate, yeah, the hypercar class now is phenomenal, isn't it? I mean, it's huge. I think it's one of the biggest grids we've seen in this category for a very long time. The manufacturers are all coming to it as well. It's not just like two or three, four manufacturers. They're all rocking up for this. I think it's going to be a phenomenal race this Le Mans 24 hour, and just the performance of these vehicles now are just blisteringly fast, aren't they?
Yeah, and this year's been quite different as well, isn't it? In terms of the competitive order has been shaken up. I mean, years gone by, you could easily predict it was going to be a Toyota win nailed on, from the very beginning. But that's really not the case now, is it?
No, that's right. I mean, Toyota Gazoo have been, they've been kind of like the benchmark for a very long time, haven't they? They've got a really well sorted team there, some fantastic drivers. I'm a bit of a fan of Mike Conway, having won the same trophy as him. That he won it many years ago, and I won it a little bit more recently at Butmore Park at go karting. So I'm a bit of a fan of Mike Conway, but yeah, they're a great team. But they're certainly keeping on their toes now with regards to all of the new exciting manufacturers coming in and the entry list that we've got today.
Yeah, so we might as well sort of start diving into it, really. Obviously, yeah, this year's edition, there's plenty at stake. Obviously, Jota were the first privateer to win in the hypercar era last time out at Spa. Um, and obviously, with the Porsche 963, I mean, do you think Porsche could be on for a victory again, be it with Jota or even obviously the Penske team?
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's been some upgrades with the car, and they've kind of got the car in a much better place than they did do when they first launched it, which was a couple of years ago now, wasn't it? When they
Yeah.
actually launched the 963, and yeah, I think they're well on for a shout. It was so great to see Jota take that outright win. They're a non-factory team. They're a bunch of guys that are really working hard and they have done for so many years. So for them to go into Le Mans having had that victory, they're certainly going to be one to watch because they've really, really clicked and something really quite magical has happened there at Jota.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on in that team as well, and a lot of experienced drivers in the race. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see see Vajota at the sharp end. It's going to be a case of whether they can stay out of trouble, isn't it?
Yeah, like any 24-hour race, right? I mean, it's a long race. Gone are the days where it's a 24-hour endurance race. It pretty much is a 24-hour sprint race these days, isn't it? They're absolutely on the limit for the entirety of the race, and it's properly exciting to watch. So, of course, you need an element of luck with any endurance racing, but as long as you've got that kind of core team running the car in the best possible way they can, then for sure they're in for a shout.
Yeah, I mean, who do you think is going to be vying for overall victory? Do you think it will be Porsche, or is there anyone else you can kind of see putting themselves in the mix?
Yeah, I mean, my predictions for sure, Porsche. I think they're going to be the front runners there. But having said that, the Ferrari AF course, the Ferrari 499P car, is certainly a really really interesting contender, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, obviously it won the race last year, so the team now have experience of winning. Balance of performance will come into it a little bit as to where their cars will sit, but they've had a few issues this year in terms of like with strategy. They kind of threw away the win at Imola. Um, Spa, they were looking sort of pretty handy, but the timing of the red flag really sort of caught them out. Um, I think actually Ferrari go into this as the favourites. Would be my prediction, but as ever with Ferrari, though, things can go awry. So I wouldn't be hedging all of my money on a Ferrari victory, but
Yeah, but you say that though, like you say that with Ferrari, they got it right at the Le Mans 24 Hour last year,
they
right? I
did.
mean, among all of the negative press that Ferrari F1 has kind of been poor in strategy and kind of all their decisions that have cost them race wins effectively in the last couple of seasons, they nailed it. They absolutely got it perfect.
Yeah, it's and that's why I wouldn't be surprised to see them on the top step. If not the top step, I would expect to see at least one of their cars on the podium. And obviously they've got the privateer car as well with AF Corsa, so they'll be coming at this with a very strong approach. Um, I mean, are there any teams that you think could have the potential to sort of struggle at the race?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think there's a few. I think the Lamborghinis are going to be. I think they're going to. I think they could struggle. And I'm not massively convinced yet of the Peugeot car of how competitive that might be. Um, it'll be interesting to see how they do, but yeah, I wouldn't say that they're going to be in that front running pack.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I'm also slightly concerned about Cadillac. I think it when it's there, it showed at Spa, they've got pace in that car. It is inherently there, but
It's a great car,
it's
yeah.
yeah, but it's whether they can kind of keep it all together for the duration of the 24 hours. And you know, they've had a few issues of, made a few mistakes here and there already this season. If that creeps in, and I think they could be in for a tough race. Same with like BMW. They've been almost anonymous this year, haven't they? I know we're still getting to grips with the car, but I was kind of hoping they might be a bit more on top of it in time for this race.
Yeah, maybe they're just figuring it all out, and the Le Mans 24 Hours they may be building up for the hey, we're here, slipping under the radar. Avoid the bop and crack out a great session. But yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how they do. But by all means, every car, every manufacturer, every team in this top hypercar class, they are all doing a great job. I mean, these cars are very complex. They're I assume very difficult to drive at that pace for that length of time. You've got to be physically fit, and the car's got to be fit for the endurance. So it's just gonna be really interesting. But if I had like my heart on it, I would love to see the Jota 963 Porsche win with Jenson Button in the car. That would be quite special for me, having been a massive fanboy of Jenson Button for many years. Seeing him in a Porsche for the Le Mans 24 Hours, especially after his awesome year last year in the Mustang, was pretty cool. I think
Yeah,
uh, I think he's gonna be one to watch this year.
and it's easy to forget actually how fast he was in that NASCAR last year as well. It might have been, in the classification, it might not have been anywhere near the front, but it was he was he was on it, wasn't he? Really?
Oh mate, he was flying in that thing, and I mean, how many pit stops did they have to make? It was ridiculous, wasn't it? but that was a great effort and a great standpoint to see, that actually they managed to do that, and he was properly fast in it. Obviously, he's got all of his F1 experience, so that will definitely help him out in the hypercar category. But yeah, I'd love to see Jota win it. It would be quite something. Be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, and I fully expect, obviously, because with Le Mans, it's not just about the actual race itself, is it? It's a full festival, in the week leading up to it, and that has a massive effect on a driver. Obviously, you need like the stamina and fitness for driving, but it's also absorbing, mentally what's going on all around the race, isn't it? And I suppose there's quite a few rookies tackling the event this year. Whether that has an effect on them or not, I suspect it won't have a huge effect, but it still makes an impact, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've never personally been to them on. I've only had great stories and dreamed to be there one day and certainly race it. But yeah, I imagine the whole build up, the whole week. There's a huge amount of pressure among the drivers to obviously perform at this level. Um, Everyone wants to win the Le Mans 24 Hour, right? It's arguably the world's greatest race, and those that can manage that kind of pressure, the fatigue, etc., and the preparations leading up to that, they're the ones that do shine at the very top. But it's just a monumental race, right? 24 hours for three drivers. hacking around the Le Mans 24-hour circuit is yeah, it's seriously something, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, but I don't think there's many better races in the world, if any at all. Obviously, the last question before we go, are there any drivers out there or teams out there that you think could spring a surprise? Any dark horses you think are lurking in the shadows that could suddenly throw themselves in the limelight in time for this year's race?
For me, it's the Jota team, having come from the success of the Spa the Spa race that they won outright. I appreciate they're going to this with a really strong head, and most people would assume that the Porsche Penske team would be kind of a little bit above them in terms of like its actual pace and performance. But yeah, I want to call it. I'd love to see Jota win it, and I think they're certainly there, really under the radar to take that win.
See, I'm taking a slightly different approach with this one in that go back a few years, you wouldn't have called them a dark horse at all. But with the way this season's gone, I actually think Toyota could be the one about to kind of put themselves back in the limelight and have the potential to go for victory. I think, experience accounts for a lot in the world of endurance racing, and they're not short of it at all. And I know they've been a bit quiet. They've picked up that win at Imola, but other than that, they've not really been hustling for outright victory. But yeah, I just feel like they could be about to turn a corner and put themselves on a top step. I think Ferrari are probably favourites, but I think if Ferrari can't get there, Toyota will be ready and waiting to take it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a proper battle, isn't it? It'll be interesting to see just how close the race finish will end up being. I'm sure it's going to be within seconds for the top one, two, maybe three. It's going to be a fierce battle. This.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's yeah, want to wait and see how it pans out, but really looking forward to it. I mean, this is the end of obviously our hypercar preview for this year's Le Mans 24 Hours, but we've also got coming up soon episodes on the LMP2 class and the LMGT3 class. So yeah, stay tuned, keep your eyes peeled, and we look forward to seeing you soon.